and welcome to CATEX-TV. I'm Tom Bailey in London. It's 4:30 PM in London, 11:30 Eastern Time and 12:30 in Bermuda. Today in history, today in 1918, a circus train in Ivanhoe, Illinois was rammed by a troop train, killing 68 people. You can imagine the chaos ensuing from a derailment of a circus train. And today in history saw two of the greats of show business die. In 1969, Judy Garland, the actress and singer, died in London aged 47. And today in 1987, Fred Astaire died at Century City Hospital in Los Angeles at the age of 88. Now to the news. At least 39 people have died and hundreds more are missing in floods and mudslides following heavy rains in Brazil. Authorities have said that 100,000 people have been left homeless in the northeast of the country. Luis Inacio Lula da Silva, the president, has called a crisis cabinet meeting for today and said that the government would make federal funds available to help the homeless. Civil defense officials in Alagoas state said the Mundao River burst its banks in the town of Uniao Los Palomares, leaving at least 500 people missing there. The state governor said, "We are praying for the missing to be found alive, but we are very worried because bodies are starting to turn up on beaches and on riverbanks." The torrents swept away more than 40,000 homes, entire bridges and streets, as well as rail lines in 22 towns across Alagoas. 26 people have been confirmed dead in Alagoas and 13 in the neighbouring state. Power and phone service has been cut off in many areas, and officials fear there could be many more deaths unreported. For a list of failed states, Somalia has the ignominious accolade of topping it. Somalia tops the list of so-called failed states based on factors including its economy, human rights record and security, according to a new survey. The Fund for Peace and Foreign Policy magazine released their 2010 Failed States Index on Monday, yesterday, ranking 177 countries to determine those most at risk of failure. The annual report uses 12 metrics. Since the index was first published for the first time in 2005, the top 10 slots have rotated amongst just 15 countries. And Foreign Policy said it seems that the state failure is a chronic condition. Africa has 7 of the top 10 spots and half of the 60 weakest states. Somalia, which has held the worst position for 3 years in a row, has not had an effective government since 1991. It's racked by bloody fighting between anti-government troops and the army in large parts of the country, and pirates operating off the coast. Now, the 5 weakest countries according to this index are Somalia, with Chad at number 2, Sudan number 3, Zimbabwe number 4, and Democratic Republic of Congo as number 5. It also rates the strongest states, and the strongest is Norway, the second strongest Finland, third strongest Sweden, fourth strongest Switzerland, and the fifth strongest, interestingly given its economic worries, is Ireland. We've seen quite a lot of storm activity in the eastern Pacific at the moment. Though hurricane season has technically begun in the western Atlantic, we're not seeing much happening there at the moment. Of course, eastern Atlantic sea temperatures are reported to be higher than average, so therefore we can expect an active hurricane season with some strong storm systems forming. However, as I say, the activity we're seeing at the moment is in the eastern Pacific. As you'll see on the chart, we are tracking a Category 2 hurricane, Hurricane Celia, which has currently got sustained winds of 90 knots. It is heading westwards. It's forecast to veer more northwestwards and therefore should safely bypass the Hawaiian Islands. Over the next 24 hours, Celia is forecast to strengthen to 105 knots of sustained wind, which will put it at a Category 3 hurricane. In the same region, we're also tracking Hurricane Blas, which is going in pretty much the same direction. Blas has got currently sustained, is a tropical depression with sustained winds of 25 knots. Blas is forecast to weaken over the next 24 hours to 20 knots. Still a tropical depression. We'll keep you posted on on any developments there. Now for BP, as oil keeps pumping into the Gulf, the future of the company itself has been called into question. BP has to stop the oil flowing from the Deepwater Horizon well soon, or the financial costs could spiral into unknown territory. Ironically, a large hurricane in the area will certainly stop BP drilling its relief well, allowing more oil to spew into the environmentally sensitive Gulf, but there's also a chance that it could help the situation depending on which way the wind blows. According to Dr. Martin Preston, a marine pollution specialist at the University of Liverpool, strong winds can work for you or against you. That's why the effects of hurricane are difficult to call. The hurricane season, as we said, officially started on the 1st of June and will last for 6 months. The US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the NOAA, said this year will be extremely active hurricane season for the Atlantic Basin. The NOAA said there's a 70% chance of 8 to 14 hurricanes, with between 3 and 7 of these being major ones, which are defined as being Category 3, 4 or 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and they have winds of at least 111 miles per hour. Dr. Jane Lubachenko, the NOAA's administrator, said if this outlook holds true, this season could be one of the more active on record. The greater likelihood of storms brings an increased risk of landfall. In short, we urge everyone to be prepared. This need for preparedness includes, of course, BP. The US Energy Information Administration said last week that this forecast of hurricane activity could reduce Gulf oil production by 26 million barrels and natural gas production by 166 billion cubic feet. This is much higher than the average fall of 5.8 million barrels of oil and 39.5 billion cubic feet of gas in a typical season. Disruption on this scale will keep oil prices high and bring a boon for oil producers in the Middle East. For operators in the Gulf of Mexico, however, it could be an utter disaster. The best way BP can be prepared to stop the leak at the bottom of the ocean, the best way BP can be prepared to stop the leak at the bottom of the ocean, but this still seems to be a long time off, is the drilling of the alternate pipe. The company will have a more permanent containment system in place to deal with the oil leak by the end of this month, which is designed to be hurricane-proof, according to Chief Executive Tony Hayward. However, Mr. Hayward can take some relief from the fact that major storms usually come later in the season. For example, Katrina, which devastated the US coast in 2005, did not form until August the 23rd. Dr. Preston, so where the story began, Dr. Preston said strong winds can break up the oil slick into smaller droplets, which provides a greater surface area for the oil to be degraded by microorganisms in the ocean. He cited the example of the Brer, an oil tanker which ran aground in the Shetland Islands in January 1993, as an example of bad weather assisting in the cleanup of a slick. The ship was grounded by force 11 gale, and the rough seas caused the oil to disperse quickly, limiting damage to wildlife such as birds. Most of the oil was gone in the first few days. We'll obviously keep you posted on any developments that come through on that and any success in stemming that leak. Hong Kong-based China Strategic Holdings and Primus Financial Holdings in October agreed to acquire AIG's Taiwan unit Nanshan Life for $2.15 billion US pending approval from Taiwan's financial regulator. But the deal has been in limbo since November, when China Strategic announced a plan to sell a 30% stake in Nanshan to the Taipei-based China Trust Holdings Company. The two sides agreed to extend the deadline from the 12th of July to October the 12th in order to accommodate the completion of the sale of the AIG stake in Namsha Life Insurance Company Limited to the consortium. The statement they released said the extension of the date of purchase agreement underscores the commitment of both parties to the successful closure of this transaction. We'll keep you posted on that, but it does seem to be taking an unusually long amount of time. And finally today, some top investors in Brit Insurance, the Lloyd's of London insurer, are urging the company's management to negotiate with Apollo management for a sweetened bid. Earlier this month, the US buyout shop tabled a £10 per share offer, valuing the insurance firm at £770 million, or 1.15